policy. Act 3. So if Act 2 was about the way science inches across the border of death, Act 3 is about...
Creature like that. How would it ever die?
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead. I put 4 bullets into him.
Oh, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
At 30 East Drive. The house didn't creak or whisper. It reacted. Doors slammed hard enough to rip from their hinges. Heavy objects crossed rooms with intent. A child was lifted from the floor and thrown. Whatever lived there didn't hide, didn't wait for darkness, it didn't care who was watching. Police officers saw it. Investigators argued over it. A photograph captured something standing on a stair that no one could explain, and when the family finally fled the house, that activity didn't feel finished. It felt interrupted, as if something violent had simply gone quiet, waiting for the next set of footsteps to come back inside. Tonight, on Beyond the Shadows podcast, we are discussing 30 East Drive, the house that fought back.
Yes, that's right, everybody. 30 East Drive. You don't know that you know it, but you know it. And we're going to talk about it tonight. We're going to talk about it. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, everybody. I'm your host, Victus, and this is Beyond the Shadows podcast, where each week we record a live podcast, one take, no edits, and try to figure out if this week's case is really paranormal or just some type of bullshit. This week, we are discussing 30 East Drive, the house that fought back. A really super paranormal freaking house. Really, really paranormal house. Yeah. You don't know that you know it, but you know it. You've heard of this at least once before. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. I'm so glad everybody's here. Before we get going, we do have a couple quick announcements to make. We got some new followers. First and foremost, we have Joe Mariel. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. Joe Mariel followed the page on Facebook. Thank you for that. Really appreciate that. Can't read because there's a cable in front. Shady McLeod also started following. Thank you for your Facebook follows, everybody. You guys rock. A lot of traction this week with the reels. We also have a couple new followers on YouTube. Catfeet0000 and Ballsy Goblin have both subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you guys for your support for the podcast. I really appreciate it. Every single one of you. You guys are amazing. Keep doing what you do. Keep doing what you do. Thank you. Again, this is a free podcast. You should, if somebody's out there copying this content and you're paying for it, it's free. You don't have to pay for anything. Even if you watch it live, you don't have to pay for anything.
Channel open and you scared the shit out of Jade with the demon voice.
The demon.
They thought my PC was possessed.
I'm watching you.
Awesome. Cool. I'm glad I could scare at least one person tonight. That worked out. What's going on, Shark? Glad you're here. Hello, Jaden in the background. Hello. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. This is season 3, episode 6 of Beyond the Shadows podcast. Tonight we're talking about the haunting at 30 East Drive. We're gonna have some fun with it. This is gonna be a good one. I didn't even know, and this will tell you how the blinders are on me all the time. I didn't even know that the Super Bowl was tonight until about 15 minutes ago. I was like, you know what? I need to make a post for those that don't want to watch the Super Bowl to come watch the podcast. So if you see the post on Facebook, please share it. This might be it. This might be the chance for all of us weirdos to come together and really push out a crazy good episode. Last week
I was in the bathroom, ha ha ha. XD, they messaged me and I cackled. Jade says, is that the guy from the Beyond the Shadows podcast?
Jeez. Sorry, Jades. Sorry.
Also, I'm feeling a bit better from the stomach bug I have. I'm now eating a bit.
Good deal. It's going around. Everybody, I got lucky. I was sick all week this week. I started feeling sick this time last week. And if you go back and listen to last week's episode, I was feeling bad. Like, the only good thing was, like, my voice was on point. I had a nice deep voice the whole episode. But no, I was like super sick all week, and I didn't think I was going to actually be able to record tonight, but it worked out.
By ads.
Oh, geez. Ads. These stupid ads. That's the downside to this show being free, is there are ads that run when you watch it live. I guess I need to set up like a Patreon or something. I don't want to ask for money. But I know that there's going to be those people out there that enjoy podcasts and don't want to sit and deal with all the ads and stuff. I guess a smart person would set up a Patreon and just release all of the episodes ad-free. I could do that. That would be acceptable, I think. That would be acceptable. I don't like the idea of charging for the podcast. I really don't. But, you know, I don't like listening to ads. But... you know, I'm not going to put ads in the episodes, if you know what I mean. So that's what I mean is, like, I love listening to podcasts, but I hate when I'm listening to a podcast and they record ads into their episodes. It drives me freaking insane. So I guess, you know, if you're watching on like YouTube or Spotify, I guess if you're on Spotify or like Apple Podcasts and you're on a premium account, you know, you're not going to get any ads then. But I do not record ads into these episodes. I tried doing like a personal ad a couple times, but it never really went anywhere. It felt invasive and bad. I didn't like it. I didn't feel like I needed to ask people to hit the follow, the like and subscribe button. You know, if y'all like what you watch, I appreciate it. You know, we got a bunch of new followers this week. I'm trickling the reels as I make them 3 or 4 at a time. It seems to be working pretty well. It's a numbers game. Welcome back. So yeah, I don't know, maybe in the future, you know, a Patreon with ad-free stuff in case people don't want to. I don't know. I don't put ads in the episodes, so I guess if you're paying for Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you're not going to hear any ads anyway. Whatevs. Also on iHeartRadio. I'm trying to get on Amazon Prime podcasts, or Amazon Podcasts, and they're being really uncooperative. They really are. They're just not helping me out at all. But, you know, you can only do so much, and you know, if they don't want to help, I'm not going to put out on their platform. Maybe one day I'll be so popular that they're going to ask me to be on their platform. Ha ha ha. Dreams. You dream, you got to dream big. So welcome in, everybody. Season 3, episode 6. Did I update this information on Twitch? Oh, geez. I need to check that right quick. I always put the information in there. I don't always hit update. Yeah, it's updated. Cool. All right, so Speech Chat is live, everybody. For those of you in YouTube land, Speech Chat is jumping. We got Speech Chat in Twitch and YouTube tonight. Like, nobody really watches on Facebook. I pushed real hard to get Facebook Live going, and nobody watches on Facebook. So I'm just going to keep doing it anyway, because it's easy and consistent media, and it's all about consistency. Small update, and I'm sure a couple of y'all will appreciate hearing this, but we might be getting another host soon. It's a tentative, up in the air kind of thing right now, but my wife has expressed some interest in being on the show, and I've always wanted her to be part of this. So if she decides she wants to be part of this, we're gonna bring my wife in, and we're gonna do the husband-wife thing. And if that works out and she enjoys it, we're going to do a full studio remake and reorganize everything here in the studio and make a sweet little podcasting space. So hopefully everything works out all right. We'll see what happens here in the next couple weeks. So if you come up and you see an extra face on the screen, you know what's going on. Any hoots and hollers. Before we dive into, any deeper in tonight's case, it's time for this week's News and Paranormal, where we take a look at some of the strangest, most interesting, and sometimes unsettling stories making headlines around the world of the unexplained and paranormal. Oh, wait, yeah, I got a scene for this. Hold on. This is this week's News in Paranormal. First off, we have a group of hikers in Northern California reported a late-night encounter with an unidentified bipedal figure moving through a dense forest near a restricted watershed area. According to statements given to local authorities, the figure stood well over 6 feet tall, moved silently, and disappeared into tree cover without leaving any clear tracks. Officials declined to comment further, citing environmental protections in the area. Now moving over to Ohio, residents near a small town in eastern Ohio reported a sudden spike in electrical disturbances accompanied by unexplained knocking sounds and objects shifting inside their homes. Power companies found no faults on the grid, and police reports described, quote, no sign of forced entry. In multiple cases, activity reportedly stopped as suddenly as it began. Now, across the big pond here, a fisherman off the coast in Nova Scotia captured a video of a dark mass surfacing briefly near his vessel before submerging again. Marine experts reviewing the footage stated it does not match the movement pattern of known whales or sharks in the region. The video has since been pulled down from public platforms, fueling speculation rather than calming it. Moving forward, an archival photo of recently resurfaced from the 1970s showing what appears to be a shadowy humanoid figure standing inside an abandoned hospital corridors scheduled for demolition at the time. Former staff interviewed decades later independently described a recurring presence in the same wing of the building. And last but not least, a shortwave radio enthusiast in rural Australia. All right, there's a shout out for all my Australian friends out there. Reported receiving repeated transmissions consisted of distorted voices speaking in English but referencing names and locations tied to the listener's own past. Spooky. Authorities found no nearby transmitters capable of reproducing the signal, and the broadcast abruptly ceased after several nights. And those are just a few of the stories making waves this week in the paranormal world, some easily dismissed, some harder to explain, and some that may never offer any answers at all. Now that we covered out what's happening out there in the world, let's turn our full attention back to tonight's case. Are y'all ready? It was good. It's good. So, we are dealing with a paranormal case overseas. I really didn't mean to hit that button, but you know, let's go with it. We're dealing with something overseas, if I'm not mistaken. Britain. We're dealing with a haunted house in Britain, right? So I called the owners, the current owners of this house just yesterday. And I'm like, hey, I need a good quote for the show, right? I'm like, hey, I'm doing a podcast. This is kind of what I do is I cover the paranormal stuff, and we're going to cover your house tonight at the podcast. And you know, it's like we kind of do it loose and fly by the seat of our pants, but I just, you know, want to get a cool little quote. And it's like, it'd be great to involve you in some way. And they're like, you know what? I hear what you're saying. But before we go any further, I have one very serious question for you. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? And they're like, no, stop, don't talk. And I'm like, what? And they said, look here, listen very closely. This question is very serious. And I'm like, what is it? And they got real quiet on the phone. And you know what they asked? What shirt are you wearing today? That's a lie. I didn't call them. I didn't call him. I'm enjoying that more and more every week. I'm really getting into it. What shirt are you wearing today, everybody? Let's see. What shirt am I wearing indeed? One of my very favorites. Everybody likes Invader Zim, right? Who doesn't like Invader Zim? We're all humans, right? We're all spooky humans. We all love Invader Zim. This is one of many of my Invader Zim shirts. Cool shirt, right? It's a cool shirt. Who doesn't like Invader Zim?
I'm wearing a shirt of Scar saying, I'm surrounded by idiots.
My wife would love that. She's a big fan of Scar. She's probably one of the few people on the sidelines rooting for the bad guy in most Disney movies. Scar is her favorite. Oh yes, I need to get her that shirt. I would love to see that. I bet it's awesome. She would love it though. I know she would. If she were here, she'd be going, "Oh yes, yes," and cheering, pumping her fists. That's how she is. Thanks for participating.
I got it from Target a while back.
Target. The one place we don't really go. Yeah, we went yesterday, but only because I had to use the bathroom. I will find it. I'm going to make a note of it right now. Oh, yeah, that's a cool shirt. Yeah, I got to get her one of these. She's going to love it. I was like, if you come in the podcast, you're going to need like 45 more shirts because I've got one for every episode for a year. 52, I've got 52 shirts. Well, just over 52. But I was like, what shirt are you wearing today as a segment? And she's like, nope, I'm not buying more t-shirts. I was like, all right, we'll see what happens. We'll see. All right, jerks, y'all ready to get into this? Happy not watching Super Bowl Sunday. If you come in just to get away from the Super Bowl tonight, you've come to the right place. We are not talking about football tonight. We're not talking about football. And I just realized this light is like bright yellow in my face. What are we thinking? Green? Blue? Blue looks good. Ooh, wait, red. No, that's it. Ooh, that's a good color. I usually have it set before we start streaming. I change it up every week, if you haven't noticed. All right. Well, kids, let's open another can and let's get going. We've got some photo evidence tonight. Rarely, we're dealing with a haunting. This is quote unquote the most haunted house in Britain. Of course, we've heard this before, and the last time that we were told this is the most haunted house in Britain, we came to the conclusion that was not really a truly paranormal case, that we were dealing with paranormal investigators that were just trying to fluff a little bit.
Thanks for subscribing.
Hey,
how's it going, bud?
Blip, thank you for the sub, my friend. Thank you so much. Everybody give a round of applause for Blip. How's it going, buddy? Glad you're here. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Clap. You get like 10. We'll give you like 2 round of applause. And I'll give you lint liquor.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
And I'll give you a crazy pills.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Oh, Worlds of Confusion here. What's going on, Worlds? Confusion. Worlds of Confusion. Someone's
Hi, Blip. Hi, Worlds.
Everybody's here tonight. So glad you're all here. You're all here right at the beginning, too. Blip, how you been, buddy? Missed you the last couple weeks. We had a good.
Yeah, I'm good. Project is shipped. World didn't end. Holiday started.
All right.
Yo.
Fantastic. Good deal. Everybody likes a finished project, man. We had a great episode last week. Last week, we were raking in people from YouTube. We had like 40-something people watching on YouTube Live last week, and I was completely floored. It took every ounce of self-control to keep me from tearing up because I was just blown away. I don't know where they came from. They're obviously not here tonight. We've got one person on YouTube tonight. That's fine. I don't care. I was glad to see some numbers other than 1 or 2 or 3, you know. But hey, cool. I'm glad YouTube stepped up last week. It was a good episode last week. It was a really good episode. We talked about the disappearances in Nome, Alaska that contributed to the
Hi, YouTube.
YouTube. Hello. Yeah.
CP me over to Twitch. It's better here.
Yeah. Yeah. Twitch is way better because there's so much stuff that you can do. Like, oh, geez. Here we go. Let's do. Yeah, let's bring out the potato, the great potato.
Delicious, precious. What's delicious, huh? Potatoes.
Boil them, mash them, stick in a stew.
Stick 'em in a stew.
The great potato. Greatly missed. Greatly, greatly missed. Oh, chicken attack. Chicken is also sorely missed. Both resting peacefully in the garden. You're greatly, greatly
Nice
missed.
invaders in short.
Thank you. Yeah, this is I got this for like $4. I love Gur. Gur is my spirit animal. Love me some Gur. Love me some Gur. Favorite, give me your favorite Invader Zim quote. Go, I'll give you mine. It's the one where they're trying to give him the new navigation chip in his head, and they get lost in the city, and he's like, all right, now, Zim goes, now activate your navigation chip. And he goes, the what? He says, the navigation chip. He says, oh, I took that out. He goes, you took it out? What do you mean you took it out? He said, I had to make room. He's like, make room for what? I had to make room for my cupcake. And he pulls the cupcake out of his head. And then he's like, all right, well, let's just fly. Let's just, you know, activate your boosters and we'll fly around and find it. And he's like, oh, well, I don't have any more of that. Well, I took the fuel out. He said, you took the fuel out for what? He goes, I had to take fuel out to make room for my tuna. And he puts his foot in his mouth and he starts pumping tuna into his mouth. He's like, I love tuna. Yeah. Love me some Invader Zim. Grr.
BOWDOOWN. BODOOWN. BEFOORE, the power of Santa. ORB crushed. BCRUUUUUSHED. BYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYYY his jolly boots of DEW.
Jelly boots of doom. Everybody's got a Zim quote. Jeez. Yeah, that was I've got it here somewhere. I used to be a manager at Hot Topic. Surprise! If you guys know me, I've always been that kind of guy. I was a manager at Hot Topic for a while, and I got a few like really cool shirts. I meant to leave it in here so I could show it off. I'll bring it in next week. I have a Hot Topic Distributors Facility Employees t-shirt. Like, never seen one before. Never.
Yeah, always a bummer to miss an episode, but sometimes I gotta be good instead of staying up late.
Hey, do what you gotta do. We're adults. That's the reason why I do this at a reasonable hour. You know, it's 5 p.m. here. So, you know, once I get done here, my ass goes to bed. I'm in bed by like 8:30 every night. My people. I'm boring. I'm boring as hell. I put on Unsolved Mysteries and we go to sleep. All right, jerks. Are y'all ready to get into Act 1? We're going to start talking about this haunted house, the quote-unquote most haunted house in Britain. Yeah, if you believe this one. We'll see. We're going to break this thing down and see if it really is the most haunted house in Britain or not. We've heard this before. We've heard this before. All right.
Pontefract.
Yes, there you go. All right, you're on it. You know exactly what's going on. How is that pronounced? Say that again. Because I know I'm gonna... Pontefract. Okay, that makes...
it well.
Awesome, cool. I'm glad you know what's going on tonight. We've got some photo evidence to look at. We've got lots and lots of first-hand testimony, one of which is even a police officer.
Oh, nice. Well, I'm glad I get to catch one that's close to home today.
Oh, close to home.
30 East Drive.
Yeah, that's the name of tonight's episode, 30 East Drive, the house that fought back. Just curious, Blip, as the crow flies, how far away are you from it? I'm just curious.
Damn it, ad.
Oh, jeez, those ads. Sorry. Yeah, we'll hang out for a minute till the ads clear. Just let me know.
Oh,
All right.
maybe different one. Just let me know when ads are clear.
All right. Guess while that's happening, we're gonna kill this little
8
background music.
seconds.
8 seconds. Fantastic. Again, I'm gonna give a shout out
At Worlds
to.
of Confusion, haha, same. Got hit too. Back.
Fantastic. I'm gonna drop this song and then I'm gonna give a quick shout out because I told them I'm gonna do this.
Go check out Poke Your Eyes Out Radio at twitch.tv/Poke Your Eyes Out Radio and go show them some love.
Yes, indeed. This backing track, this wonderful backing track that you're hearing right now, was generously provided by Poke Your Eyes Out Radio here at live on Twitch. Go check them out. Killer freaking DJ, y'all. If you don't like, if you like live DJ sets on Twitch, just go check this dude out. Dude threw this backing track together. This 5-minute long backing track together.
120 miles, so not close, but not across the pond at least.
Ah, yeah.
Poke is great.
Poke is great. Dude threw this song together in like 10 minutes. Like, I just emailed him like when I had like 20 minutes before the show went live, and right before we went live, I get an email. Hey, here's your track. Check it out. And I was like, shit, let's roll with it, right? Dude dropped the fucking banger and bailed. But yeah, if y'all don't follow Poke Your Eyes Out Radio and here on Twitch, go check him out. Give him a follow. I'd appreciate it. Let him know I sent you. All right, jerks, y'all ready to get into this freaking shit show? Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. I thought I had a new background piece. Did I? Oh, I do. I do have a couple new background pieces. Hold on. I always like to show these off when I get new ones, so everybody can see what's going on, because I'm always adding to the background. So Anybody? I'm gonna let that one simmer a minute. And then I got a couple Don Funko Pops. I got Momo and Granny.
I recognize it, but I can't remember where it's from. Is that a mouth, an eye, or a mouth eye?
Oh, I'll show you again. I'll bring it up closer. It's an eye. It's an eyeball. This is Bill Cipher from Gravity Falls. Bill Cipher. Kind of a cool little dude. Didn't know they made a Funko Pop out of him. Kind of stoked. And then Momo. I got Momo. And I got Granny. I got a little baseball bat. She's cool. Of course. I mean, we've got to put him in here, right? It's like they made an anime for this podcast. And then Bill Cipher stays in the uranium glass case because Bill Cipher is actually glow in the dark, and we've got a black light in the uranium glass case, so that works out. So yeah, 3 new editions. Found him at Barnes and Nobles of all places, right? I never thought, I never thought Funko Pops and Barnes and Nobles were a thing, but they are. Apparently, I don't know. Made for a nice trip, nice little trip to the town. And then a lot of y'all weren't here when I showed y'all this one. I got this one for Christmas. This is my plush tray of emotional support nuggies. Oh, they're emotional support dino nuggies. Yeah. How cool is this? They got a little basket and there's like a little, I'm sorry, I'm a sucker for this kind of shit. I stay back here in front of the light. Keep them warm. Gotta love your emotional support dino nuggies. But yeah, big Gravity Falls fan. Maybe one of these days we'll go in depth and talk about the Bill Cipher treasure hunt. That would make a killer episode. It would. It's not really paranormal, but it's really interesting. For those that don't know about Gravity Falls and Bill Cipher, you need to go and watch Gravity Falls and come back and let me know you finished, and we'll talk about the Bill Cipher treasure hunt. It crossed the world. I don't know how they did it, but they did it. All right, jerks, you guys ready? We're gonna shut down the freaking Super Bowl with this incredible episode tonight. Let's get into Act 1, everybody. The House Before the Haunting. This is Season 3, Episode 6 of Beyond the Shadows podcast. 30 East Drive, The House That Fought Back. This is Act 1. The House Before the Haunting. Act 1. Before it became known as one of the most aggressive hauntings in Britain, 30 East Drive was exactly the kind of house people overlook. It wasn't ancient. It wasn't isolated. It didn't sit on a windswept hill or next to a crumbling churchyard. It was a modest council house in Pontefract, West Yorkshire. Part of a row of near-identical homes built to be practical, affordable, and unremarkable. Families moved in and out. Children grew up there. Life happened. Nothing about the building itself suggested it would ever become infamous. And that ordinariness matters, because it's the first thing people point out when they try to explain what happened later. No medieval foundations, no plague pits beneath the floorboards, no dramatic architectural quirks, just brick walls, a narrow staircase, and rooms that held heat in the winter and noise year-round. If you were looking for a place primed for haunting, this wouldn't have been it. Yet, long before the most violent events would make headlines, this house already had a reputation. Local rumors tied the property to a Benedictine monk said to have lived centuries earlier, possibly connected by near Pontefract Castle. The story was vague and inconsistent, the kind of half-remembered legend that circulates in towns with deep history. Some versions claimed the monk had been executed. Others said he was buried alive. However, none of these claims were ever backed by solid records, and even believers admitted the tale felt more like folklore than fact. But the name stuck, and over time people stopped referring to disturbances at the address and began referring to him.
The Black Monk.
So, what's important is that when families first moved into 30 East Drive, they weren't chasing legends. They weren't thrill seekers. They weren't paranormal investigators. They were just people looking for a place to live. In the 1960s and early 70s, occupants began reporting small, easily dismissible incidents. Objects would be moved from where they had been left. Lights would flick on and off. Sounds would come from empty rooms. Footsteps knocking, the sense of movement to just out of sight. Nothing dramatic enough to call the police, but nothing solid enough to prove. The kind of things people blame on old wiring, settling walls, or stress. And for a while, that's exactly what they did. But there was a pattern that would later become impossible to ignore. The disturbances didn't feel random. They followed people. Activity seemed to intensify when the house was occupied by families with children. And once it started, it didn't fade. It escalated. By the time the Pritchard family moved into 30 East Drive in the early 1970s, The house had already gained a quiet reputation among locals. Not a headline-grabbing one, just a sense that it was difficult. Tenants didn't stay long. Some left abruptly. Others refused to talk about their reasons. Council records would later show a higher than average turnover rate for the property, though no official explanation was ever attached to it. And when the Pritchards arrived, they had no intention of becoming part of a paranormal case study. They were a working-class family looking for stability. What they found instead was a house that reacted to them almost immediately. At first, it was subtle. Doors left closed would be found open. Drawers would be pulled out overnight. Footsteps were heard on the stairs even when everyone was accounted for. The family tried to ignore it. They told themselves the same things everyone else does. Drafts, old buildings, kids playing tricks. But then the house began to assert itself. Loud bangs echoed through the rooms with no clear source. Heavy furniture shifted on its own. Objects were thrown with enough force to leave dents in the walls. This wasn't the quiet, ambiguous activity of a so-called residual haunting. This felt intentional, targeted, as if something was responding to the presence of the family rather than replaying some distant past. The children noticed it first. They've reported seeing a dark figure at the top of the stairs, a shape that didn't move like a shadow and didn't disappear when stared at. The figure was described as tall, solid, and dressed in what looked like a long robe or cloak. The children weren't hysterical when they talked about it, and that detail matters. Their descriptions were calm, consistent, and unnerving, matter of fact. Adults tried to reassure them, like parents always do, but reassurances became harder when the adults started to see it too. The staircase became the focal point of the house. Activity clustered there, sounds originated there, and sightings most often involved a figure standing just beyond the upper landing, partially obscured, as if it didn't care whether or not it was seen. Unlike many haunting cases, the activity at 30 East Drive didn't peak late at night. It happened during the day, in full light. With people awake and alert, visitors witnessed it. Friends refused to return, babysitters quit, and over time, the family realized there wasn't something they could manage quietly. And then, the violence began. Doors didn't just slam, they were torn from their hinges. Heavy objects weren't nudged, they were launched across the rooms. One child was reported lifted and thrown, not pushed, not tripped, lifted. Incidents like that changed the tone of everything. Fear replaced confusion and survival replaced curiosity. And the police were called. Officers entered the house expecting to calm a distressed family, but what they encountered forced them to document events they couldn't explain. Furniture moved in front of them. Loud crashes came from empty rooms. At least one officer later admitted that the activity appeared to respond to their presence, as if the house was reacting to authority entering its space. But still, no official report labeled the house as haunted. Police don't do that. They noted what they could and left. But the family remained. And word spread. Paranormal investigators, skeptics, and curiosity seekers began visiting 30 East Drive. Some came hoping to debunk the claims, others came expecting to witness something extraordinary. But what made the case different from countless others was the consistency of reports across witnesses, who had nothing to gain and often wanted nothing to do with the attention. And then there was the photograph. Taken on the staircase during an investigation, the image appeared to show a dark, hooded figure standing where countless witnesses had described seeing it. The figure seemed solid, three-dimensional, not a blur, not a trick of the light. To believers, it was confirmation. But to skeptics, it was a problem they still haven't fully solved. But at this point of the story, none of that happened yet. At this point, 30 East Drive was still a house refusing to behave. A family realizing they was no longer in control of their own space, and something, whether psychological, environmental, or genuinely paranormal, had begun to make itself known in ways that could no longer be ignored. Whatever lived there wasn't interested in subtlety. And it was only getting started. What a start. What a freaking start. Okay, great. We're checking some freaking boxes already. All right, so those of you keeping track here, so what are the first things that we look at when we're doing an investigation, especially with hauntings, is we try to look at who's making money off of this. We're going to touch this subject a few times through this investigation. First and foremost, we know that this family didn't want anything to do with the publicity. They were a down on their luck family, and they were trying to find a place to live. All right. These things started happening, and it wasn't until the police were called that people started to really pay attention. All right. So we are looking at some genuine haunting, articles here. Footsteps. Seeing something out of the corner of your eye. That's another one. Things being moved, things being thrown, people being moved and thrown. These are very typical poltergeist-like activities, all right? However, I will say the one thing that stood out to me was something we kind of glazed over, but it stands out. And when I say it, you're going to be like, well, shit, yeah, that makes some good sense. This activity happened during the day, not at night, where we see 99% of all the paranormal activity, especially when it comes to poltergeist-like activity. You see this stuff at night. Traditionally speaking, the quote-unquote witching hour is 3 a.m. So, majority of the time, you could say probably 3/4 of the time, a lot of poltergeist activity happens around 3 a.m. However, I do believe that this is the first case that I've heard of, personally, where there was hauntings during the day. I will say it is interesting that they're calling it the Black Monk, but there is no record of, where the house was never a monastery where a monks would stay. However, there is one nearby, from what I gather. Let's look it up. I want to see where it is. All right, sliding over a little bit here. Check this out. All right, so here's 30 East Drive. Right at the end of the street. They got a big fancy driveway. Let's go to Street View. I want to see it. That's it. Let's go over here. Yeah, it's a really nondescript type building. It really is. There's not much here. It's a very boring building. I mean, it's about what you'd expect, right? Yeah.
They go there in the Parapod movie.
Oh, they do? Oh, cool.
I don't like that house.
Is that Is there a shadow in this window right here? Am I seeing something? Anybody else see a shadow in that window? I can't zoom in anymore. This one right here. Or is that just me? Is that wishful thinking?
I really don't like that house.
Is there... Or maybe it's like a second set of curtains. I guess there could be a second set of
You
curtains.
said the thing.
I said the thing? What did I say?
No, that's just where the curtains aren't.
Yeah, it's like a sheer curtain in front. Yeah, because you can see the light passing through.
Shadows.
I said shadows.
Beyond the shadows.
Yes, we are looking beyond the shadows.
Jaden.
Jades.
Like the podcast.
Yeah, I like the podcast. Whoever that guy is.
Worlds.
But what a strange, nondescript building to be one of the most haunted places in Britain. They surely aren't advertising.
It's Vic from Beyond the Shadows podcast.
Hey, it's me. Hello. It's Jaden, everybody. Jaden. Jaden, do you want... Let me give you... Let's see, what do I get? I get... all the cool kids get the Lint Liquor audio clip. Let me...
It's me from somewhere.
Jades, you get the Lint Liquor and Crazy Pills.
Who are you calling a cootie queen, you lint liquor?
And Crazy Pills.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
Welcome in, Jades. Glad you're here. Jades from somewhere. From planet somewhere. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, this is a super nondescript. I mean, it's about what you'd expect. I mean, looking at the rest of the houses, they're all the same. This is a trend overseas, everybody, all right? For those that don't know, this is a common thing. They build, houses all the same in a row. What? What is that? Merry Christmas. They got security cameras up, everybody. They got security cameras. Don't go, Oh, what the fuck? What is that? Oh, no, it won't let me... I uninstalled the window snip thing. What is that right there? Look. Is that a little face sticking out of the window? Right there. They just got a little fucking face? Or like a doll or something sitting in the window? What the fuck? There's something in that window.
Yeah, that's a doll.
Okay. Okay. Whew.
They got a bunch of them in there.
Yeah, I probably just pooped myself a little bit. Yeah, they got cameras everywhere. Look at that camera right by the gate. Camera.
You can pay to stay there.
I'm not going to pay to stay there. In fact, I would pay to stay away from there. Yeah. Cool. Not going to be staying there anytime soon. So where is the Pontefract Castle? That's what I want to know. So there's Pontefract. Zooming out. Pontefract Hospital. They said it's close to a Pontefract castle. Where's the damn castle? Oops. Oh, there it is. I see. Yeah, it's kind of close. Oh, it's not much of a castle, is it? Oh, it's what's left of one, for sure. Hey, that's cool. I can take that. Oh, no, there it is. Wow. Yep, that's a whole ass castle. Yep. It just seems weird to me that a monk from a quote-unquote from the Pontefract Castle would end up over there. Maybe it's just me. Yeah. Look, it's like... There's no way a ghost would just be like, you know what? I'm just gonna jump off the the freaking parapet and see where I land. And that's what I'm going to haunt for the rest of my time. Seems weird a monk would be there. It does. It seems weird. Any hoots. We're about to tie off into Act 2. But before we do that, I need to use the bathroom. I'm sorry. I may or may not have had a couple beers before we started, so I'm already ready to break the seal. So if y'all give me just a hot minute, don't go anywhere. I know me saying that makes you want to go somewhere. I've heard that before. I did update the videos that are playing in the Be Right Back screen, so there's something to look at while in the bathroom. So I will be right back. Yeah, I see you, worlds of confusion. I'll be right back, everybody. If you spend enough time talking to people who live around the edges of the Hakamak Swamp, a pattern starts to form. The stories change in detail. Some say it was massive, others say it ran on 2 legs. But they all agree on one thing. I love this camera so much. Yeah, I've in another life I was a photographer, and I have a massive collection of cameras. The last count was like 230 cameras. The oldest one is from 1918 and the newest one is from 2026. Very old cameras, very new cameras. I love cameras. I collect them, all ages, all sizes, all styles. When it comes to cameras, it's like booty. I don't discriminate. They're all great. But anywho, it's, yeah, I'm in the middle of a project. So since you like photography, I will tell you, I'm in the middle of a project that I have a bunch of old cameras from like the 60s and 70s that I really like the way the image comes across through those cameras. I have a couple old digital cameras. I'm going to tear them down and see if I can't find a way to put like a digitizer from a digital camera in one of my older cameras, so I can use them like a digital camera, but it's through the old camera. You see what I'm saying? It will probably take me a year or 2 to figure it out, but I'll get it.
I get it.
Since we're talking about it, I'm going to show you what my favorite camera is. Ooh, gross. I heard my voice. Can't stand the sound of my own voice, by the way. I don't know. I'm fucking 40 years old. I should have a deeper voice than that. I should sound like a man at this point, right? Why isn't it happening? Why? All right, jerks. Yeah, ready? Did you enjoy your small bathroom break? Oh, jeez. All right.
I feel the same about my voice.
Yeah, I feel like I've got like a super...
Sounds plenty deep to me.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I've been trying to deepen my voice.
Yeah, it's 'cause it sounds deeper from inside your head.
This is how I'd love for it to sound. But I'm not that lucky.
But, you know, in my head, it sounds great. I feel like I sound like a professional podcaster. Like I'm talking through a $1,200 mic. But when I hear myself on these reels, and I hate editing, this is why I don't edit the podcast, because I really, really hate editing, and I don't want to hear my own damn voice. I feel like I'm like 15. Like I've got a high-pitched, squeaky voice. I don't like it. I don't like it. And somebody tell me, like, yeah, you get a great voice for podcasting. Like, what does that mean? Like, in a bad way? Like, is there something wrong in this department, and the only thing I got going is my voice? Is it good? I don't know. Rambling. Sorry. Sorry. It's so nice to have some people on here tonight. I'm glad everybody's here. All right, everybody, let's get into Act 2. Act 2, the escalation and targeting. Act 2, everybody. Act 2. So by the time investigators began paying serious attention to 30 East Drive, the activity had crossed a line that most haunting cases never reach. This was no longer a house producing odd sounds or unexplained movement. The disturbances had become deliberate and, more importantly, selective. Something inside the home appeared to be choosing when to act and who to act against. The pattern was impossible to ignore. The most aggressive incidents centered on the children. I was this close to slipping in an Epstein joke, but you know what? I'm going to let that slide. Objects weren't merely falling or tipping over. They were being thrown hard. Household items crossed rooms at head height. Heavy furniture shifted in ways that required more force than drafts or vibration could provide. I see confusion. The family began to notice that these incidents often occurred when adults were distracted or absent, as if whatever was responsible understood vulnerability. Yeah. Epstein joke here. Insert. Doors became a fixation. Interior doors slammed repeatedly, sometimes with enough force to tear screws from the frame. On more than one occasion, doors were simply ripped from their hinges entirely. These were solid wooden doors, not lightweight interior panels, and the damage left behind suggests sudden, violent force rather than gradual wear. So I'm gonna sidebar for just a second. Just a quick little sidebar. I want to see how much force it takes to rip a door from hinges. According to Google, to rip a door from its hinges, a significant amount of force is required, typically involving several hundred pounds of force to over 1,000 pounds, depending on how heavily the door's construction is, hinge quality, and how the force is applied. So let's compare that. Let's say several hundred pounds. Several hundred pounds of force, depending on how it's applied. So let's apply several hundred pounds of force to a person.
They pretty shitty doors.
Are they really? Several hundred pounds of force applied to a person can cause severe to fatal damage, depending on the area of the impact, whether it's concentrated or distributed. This magnitude of force is well above the threshold for breaking bones and causing catastrophic internal injuries, such as broken ribs, skull fractures, or internal organ hemorrhaging. It takes 900 pounds of force to break a bone, to break the strongest bone in the human body, the femur. A force of several hundred pounds is more than enough to shatter ribs, arms, legs, and the skull. It can also cause intense localized and crushing force can cause severe organ damage, such as rupturing of the liver or spleen, lead to fatal internal bleeding. Yeah. That's a lot of pressure. That is a lot of pressure. God help me if the FBI ever checks my Google history. How much can several hundred pounds of force cause to the human? How much damage could it cause the human body? Yeah, the guy monitoring this podcast is like, I'm watching you, buddy. Slip up. But I've done like handyman work. I've worked on houses. I've fixed doors before. It's not like super hard to rip screws out of door frames I mean, I have a door in my house that every so often I've got to like lift up on it and rack it because just opening and closing it regularly tweaks the freaking hinges. I can see how, I don't know. I mean, how would you even rip a door off its hinges? You would have to really grab it in a weird place. I don't know. I guess ghosts could grab wherever. I don't know. Don't judge me. So then there were the physical attacks. One of the most disturbing aspects of the case, and the point at which many skeptics begin to hesitate, was the claim that a child was lifted off the floor.
No judgment.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm a rambler. I often talk out loud at work, and people are like, who are you talking to? I'm like, no. Me. I'm talking to me. Yeah. The child was not shoved, not tripped, but lifted. Witnesses described the motion as abrupt and unnatural, as if the child's weight had been momentarily irrelevant. Medical explanations didn't uncover injuries consistent with the fall or rough play, but they also couldn't explain what had happened. And this was no longer something the family could rationalize away. Fear settled in. Not as panic, but as constant tension. The kind that never lets you relax, even during the day. The house felt alert, aware. Visitors noticed it immediately. Friends who had once laughed off the storage refused to stay inside for long. Babysitters quit without explanation. This sneeze comes on middle of a podcast. Yeah, see, the ghost doesn't want me to sneeze. Or doesn't want me to finish the podcast. Let's see, where did friends who once laughed off the stories refused to stay inside for long. Babysitters quit without explanation. People described the sensation of being watched, particularly near the staircase, where the activity seemed to concentrate. That staircase became the center of everything. Witnesses reported seeing a dark figure standing on or near the upper landing. The descriptions were remarkably consistent. A tall, hooded figure dressed in what appeared to be a long robe or cloak. The figure did not rush or retreat when noticed. It stood still, observed, then vanished without a sound. But what made these sightings more unsettling was the lack of emotional reaction from some of the witnesses, particularly the children. They didn't scream, they didn't cry, they simply stated what they saw, as if describing a person who had briefly entered the room and then left again. That calmness was what really unnerved the adults far more than the hysteria ever could. Police were called again. Officers entering the home expecting chaos or exaggeration. Instead, they encountered activity firsthand. Furniture moved without contact. Loud crashes echoed from empty rooms. At least one officer later stated that the disturbances seemed to respond to their presence, intensifying as they moved through the house. These weren't events happening conveniently when no one was watching. They occurred in front of uniformed witnesses, with no incentive to fabricate what they saw. No arrests were made, no trials? What is trials? No files charged, no charges filed. Oh my God, Jesus, whoa. Take another drink, jeez. No charges filed. The officers documented what they could and left, just as confused as the family they had been called to assist. And as the news spread, paranormal investigators began arriving in greater numbers. Some came prepared to debunk, others came hoping to capture proof. What united them was how quickly the house shifted from passive observation to confrontation. Equipment malfunctioned. Sessions were interrupted by violent disturbances. Investigators reported feeling targeted, as though their presence was being challenged rather than tolerated. One detail would later become central to how the case was interpreted. The activity did not appear random or cynical. It responded. When people spoke about it, it intensified. When attention was drawn to a specific room, disturbances followed. When skeptics attempted to provoke it, the reactions grew more aggressive, not less. This behavior complicated every explanation offered. If it was psychological, why were witnesses describing the same events independently? If it was environmental, why did it seem to react intelligently? If it was a hoax, why did it escalate in ways that risked real harm? By this point, the family wasn't asking what it was anymore. They were asking how long they could survive living there. The house had stopped pretending to be ordinary. Whatever force was present had made one thing clear. It didn't want to be ignored, and it didn't care how much damage it caused to make that point. And then, during one investigation, someone pressed a camera shutter on the staircase. What it captured would become the most debated images in paranormal history, and would push the case from frightening to infamous. Okay, so we've got a new box to check here. All right, for those of you not like super privy with what's going on with paranormal investigations, it is a common occurrence to bring electronic devices on site to a paranormal investigation. And if they're anything like me, I was always the guy that would pack 5 batteries because inevitably 2 or 3 are going to drain magically. And it wasn't until many years later that I realized that. So when people go around to do paranormal investigations, we do a thing where we check for electromagnetic frequencies or electromagnetic fields. And that is generally accepted as a sign of some type of spiritual entity being in the room. Now, we know because our phones have wireless charging. That's the way this works, is you put a wireless charger up against your phone and it charges your battery without needing to be plugged in. It works through electromagnetic fields. So what it does is it creates a strong enough electromagnetic field that it sends electricity wirelessly to your battery or to an electromagnetic receiver, right? And that power in turn gets sent to your battery. So, in paranormal investigations, the thing is that people will go into their investigation with a pile of charged batteries. And they'll pull out their phone or their camera or their, video recording device, whatever they're using. And after using it for a couple seconds, the battery will drain immediately. And this is common. The prevailing theory is that whatever entity is in that location is using that battery to feed itself, right? So if you have a bunch of batteries in a location that you know that is haunted, the entity that's in there is going to pull, because we're dealing with electromagnetic fields here, it's going to affect that battery, pull the power from the battery, and now that it has some power, it's going to use that power to manifest itself. This is how things work. There's electromagnetic fields everywhere, absolutely everywhere. This is why hauntings have things that can happen at any time, because there is electricity all through the air. That comes from the monitor in front of me, the microphone in front of me. I need to get like an actual EMF detector so I could like show you guys what I mean. But this is what we're looking at here. So if you've got a stack of batteries, rechargeable batteries, like I've got one here somewhere. Like, this is a rechargeable battery. It looks like a AA, but it's rechargeable. There is an electromagnetic field around this because it has electrons in it. And as they're moving about, they create a field. Well, spiritual energy or entities feed off of that field. And as they feed off of it, they're going to drain that battery. So now they can, in turn, use that power to manifest whatever they want. Be it furniture moving, knocking sounds, footsteps, grabbing a child. So it's no wonder that when paranormal investigators go into these locations, they're seeing increased activity because they've all got some type of battery-powered device in their pocket, right? It goes without saying. It's not a far-fetched concept. I have seen it personally, so I do have an old Canon. Back when I was doing ghost hunting, I would take my Canon Rebel with me because the shutter, you could really play with the shutter speed and get some really cool, interesting images and videos. It was a reliable device. At the time, it was very expensive. Now it's dirt cheap. It's not worth much, but I would usually pack like 4 or 5 batteries. And the last investigation I did was at a building that was formerly a brothel. And within 5 minutes of being in the building, 3 of my 5 batteries had drained. So it's like I'm that guy. Battery in the charger comes off, gets set on the desk. Next one goes on, and they get charged. And what I'm doing is I'm going to cycle those through over and over again for like a week leading up to the investigation. All right, so I know all 5 of those batteries are tip top. They're exactly where they need to be. However, I get to the investigation. The battery that's in the camera, I take one picture, battery dies. Go to the next battery. It doesn't even turn on. It's dead. Next battery. Doesn't even turn on. It's dead. Next battery. It turned on, but it was half dead. Batteries don't just instantly die like that, unless you're dealing with a failing battery, which I'm not, because like since moving here, I've used that camera a few times. Hell, I've got one sitting in my car. It's been there for years and it's still got power in it. So it's not like it's a bad battery.
Maybe you overcharged them to death.
It's a good point. But after that investigation, I never seen a performance issue with the camera or the batteries. Nor since then. You know, I used it for this podcast for the first season. And, you know, I couldn't, it wouldn't charge wireless, or it wouldn't charge while I was using it as a webcam. So I was running off of battery power the whole time. Those are excellent batteries. It's how the spirit world functions, is it pulls power from where it can and uses that energy to manifest itself. So if I had to guess, I would say there's probably a bunch of power lines right around this house. And if I know anything about power lines, there's a huge electromagnetic field around those. This is why we see a lot of hauntings of houses underneath power lines, because they're feeding off that electromagnetic field. But no, I agree with you. Maybe I overcharged them to death, but only having an issue with them at that investigation and nowhere else seems a little sus to me. Just saying. Just saying. So we're checking lots of boxes here. We're not seeing too much in the way of a counter argument about 30 East Drive tonight. So we're moving along. Let's move on to Act 3, everybody, the photograph. And then we're gonna go through Act 3, and then we're gonna look at the pictures. We're gonna look at the pictures. We have actual photographic evidence tonight. I hope y'all are ready. I hope y'all are ready. I hope. Act 3, everybody, the photograph. Act 3. So by the time the photograph was taken at 30 East Drive, the house had already earned its reputation for violence. Investigators weren't chasing rumors anymore. They were responding to a location that had produced repeatable witnessed events. Equipment had been brought in, sessions were scheduled, notes were taken, and still nothing about the activity behaved in a way that anyone expected. However, the staircase remained the focal point. Witnesses described seeing a tall, dark figure there again and again. Solid, hooded, unmoving, not darting, not fading, just present. So when an investigator positioned a camera towards the stairs during a visit, it wasn't out of blind hope. It was because that was where things happened. The photograph was taken quickly. No elaborate setup, no long exposure, no dramatic lighting changes, just a standard shot aimed at the staircase where many people claimed to have seen something. And when the image was developed, it showed exactly what witnesses had been describing. A dark hooded figure appeared to be standing on the stairs. The shape was not transparent. It wasn't smeared or stretched. It had depth, shoulders, a head. The outline suggested fabric draped over a form, hanging in a way that implied weight. It didn't resemble a shadow cast from any visible object in the frame, and it didn't match the geometry of the staircase or banister. It looked like something occupying space, and that detail is what made the image dangerous. Most paranormal photographs fail because they're vague. Blobs, streaks, dust orbs. This wasn't vague. It gave skeptics something specific to attack, and believers something specific to defend. You could point at it, argue about it, analyze it, and people did. Skeptics argued double exposure. Others proposed a person just standing out of frame, partially obscured by lighting. Some claimed it was a coat or garment draped over the banister. Each explanation ran into the same problem. None of those objects were present when the photo was taken, and none matched the shape, proportions, or apparent depth of the figure in the image. Investigators who were present stated that no one standing on the stairs at the time, no cloaks, no coats, no mannequins, nothing had been placed there to stage a shot. The house was small, crowded with observers. There wasn't space for someone to hide in plain sight. Attempts were later made to recreate the photograph under similar lighting conditions. None produced a convincing match. But what unsettled people the most wasn't just the photograph, what the photograph showed, but how closely it aligned with independent witness testimony. The hooded appearance, the position on the stairs, the sense of mass. These weren't details intended after the fact. They've been reported long before the image existed. For believers, the photograph wasn't proof of a ghost. It was something more troubling. Proof that the phenomena at 30 East Drive could interact with the physical world in ways that left lasting traces. For skeptics, the photograph became a problem that refused to go away. It was too clear to dismiss outright, too mundane to explain as obvious fakery, too consistent with prior reports to ignore. And over time, the image would be scrutinized endlessly, copied, enhanced, criticized, defended, and still no explanation achieved consensus. But here's what often gets lost when people debate the photograph. The activity in the house didn't stop after it was taken. If the image had been a hoax, it didn't calm anything down. It didn't satisfy curiosity. It didn't end the disturbances. In fact, witnesses reported that the house grew more aggressive following the investigation, as if attention, especially documentation, provoked it. Objects continued to fly. Doors continued to slam. The figure continued to be seen on the stairs, sometimes a moment after the photograph was discussed or shown to others in the house. And investigators began to note,
viewersstreammoo.com, remove the space at 60HIKMQG.
What? Really? You're gonna spam me in the middle of... Yep. Gonna report. Everybody boo this spam bot. Everybody boo it. Boo the bot. Get this bot out of here. Thanks for your report.
Boo, T.
Get out of here. Yeah. Suspicious user, ban evasion, monitoring. Yeah, y'all are, get out of here. Get out of here with your business. Jeez. Way to kill the vibe. Way to kill the freaking vibe. Like, the account was made, like, 3 days ago. Of course it's a bot. Oh, no, yesterday. The account was made yesterday. Come on, y'all. Come on, Twitch. Step up. Do the right thing. Ban the hell out of that guy. Ban him. Jeez. All right. Lost my train of thought. Where was I? Now I need the beer. So the image had been a hoax. It didn't calm anything down. It didn't satisfy curiosity. And it didn't end the disturbances. In fact, witnesses reported that the house grew more aggressive following the investigation. Objects continued to fly. Doors continued to slam. The figure continued to be seen on the stairs. Sometimes moments after the photograph was discussed, we've talked about this, the photograph didn't capture a conclusion. It captured a warning. Whatever was responsible for the activity at 30 East Drive didn't appear to want to be exposed. But it was not afraid of being seen. It had allowed itself to be witnessed repeatedly. It had left marks, broken doors, bruised children, terrified adults, and now it had left an image. Whether that image represented the monk, a manifestation of stress, or something else entirely, one fact remained unchanged. After the photograph, no one involved could pretend the case was exaggerated or imaginary. The house had been observed, and it seemed to be watching back. I'm going to make sure I have the right picture before I show you guys the picture.
I've never actually seen this picture.
You know, it's funny you say that because I have been through these pictures 100 times, and I have seen nothing that looks like a hooded figure standing at the top of these stairs. Lots of like fake pictures, but you know what? I'm just going to show you what I got. I'm going to show you what I got. Let me grab it right quick. Gonna grab this from the server, gonna drop this in here. There we go. Oh my god. What? What? Why won't it? Huh? Cool, so none of the pictures I saved are working? Awesome, we'll just Google it and check it out. All right, so here's one that I saved. I don't know that I would call this a monk. It's a little freaking spooky, not gonna lie. NGL. So, like, this is the one that like everybody's like pointing to. Like, I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. Like, what is this? It's just, you know, this doesn't look like a hooded figure at all. I mean, if anything, it's more like a hand sticking out. It's a little weird. Not gonna lie, it's a little weird. But geez, it's up high. So, like, a shoulder, maybe?
Yeah, that's just a hand.
But it's high. Look how high it is.
The monk one is on the stairs, I think.
So, like, I keep seeing this. But, like, this doesn't even seem real. Like, this looks fake to me. Maybe? Does this look fake to anybody else? Am I mean, it's just a blob. I could do this in Microsoft Paint in, like, 12 seconds. Here's one that gave me a little bit of pause. So this was taken at the bottom of the stairs. And I get another sneeze coming. Hold on. Jeez, I always sneeze up a storm in here. This one's a little weird. So at the bottom of the stairs, there's a mirror. And this mirror reflects backward, back up the stairs. And, like, I really wish... Like, I really wish I had this photo without the zoom bubble. I don't know what I feel about that. I don't know what that is. But, like... Are we doing the Wakanda thing? That's what I'm seeing. Like, crossed fist. Like, what's up? He's throwing up his monk gang sign or something. I don't know. Like, zooming in, like, look at this. It's nothing. It's a blob of white. And it's very loosely at a distance. Something. I don't know. I don't know what this is. Yeah, because, like, look at this. Here's the stairwell. Here's the stairwell with some black fog at the
I
bottoms.
don't see his arms crossed upwards. It looks just like a person sitting. However, it also looks like it's oil painting.
It's like they're miniature. Like it's a gnome or something. I don't know. This just doesn't look like a... I don't know how I feel about this one. I really don't. I don't know how I feel about it. That's
I thought it looked like the leprechaun.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks more like a leprechaun than a monk, for sure. Look how small it is. Look, it only covers the distance of 2 steps. It couldn't be much of anything else. I'm not sure what it could have been. I
would
don't know.
have gone with a goblin myself.
Yeah, it's definitely goblin-like. Like, at a distance, it looks more like something until you zoom in. And when you zoom in, it's just a blob. Yeah, I don't know. I don't freaking know. But I am clearly not seeing...
How do you spell this place?
Ponterfact. Pontefract. Here, I'll drop it in chat.
Pontefract.
There's an overwhelming number of images that look very photoshopped. This is another one that came up a bit. So this is the same mirror, you know, reflecting back up the stairs. I don't know what they're zooming in here on. I mean, like really, really loosely. I guess it could be something. Almost like a portrait, like somebody took a portrait and they're posing.
A person.
Yeah, but it's like somebody's on the stairs holding up a picture. I'm not...
Looks like a man in a hooded monk outfit.
I don't know if I would call it a hooded monk outfit. Because I'm seeing, like, a collar here. Like, this is what women would wear. The 3 buttons at the top. Right? Definitely seeing, like, some boobage here. A boob region. Face. More hair than a hood, if you ask me. Some boobage. Definitely some boobs. I don't know, off at a distance it looks
Monks
better.
Can be fat, LMAO.
I guess, yeah. I guess men can have boobs too, right? So what is this? What is this one? Let's look at this image. So they're saying there's something in the freaking stairs behind them. Anybody? I see, like, distortion of the image, but that's really about it. Like, if you squint your eyes just right, maybe a face.
There's a movie on this.
Yeah, there's a movie. But I feel like the movie probably over Hollywoodized it. But where is this picture of the hooded figure on the stairs? Because this shit...
When the lights go out, which I've not seen.
Oh, is that what it's called when the lights go out?
The Parapod movie is better.
I don't know.
I'm sure, but like, I wonder if many of the images on search is from it.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, this one's interesting. I want to know more about this image. Let's, Emma, the murdered girl. Oh, look, somebody superimposed a drawing.
At Worlds of Confusion, it looks like there's also the Black Monk of Pontefract.
Yeah, there's like a super Hollywood movie. Oh, so this is the,
Awesome.
Yeah, so this is the one.
I wanna watch them all.
So let me read what this says about, this is 30eastdrive.com. This is their official website for this house. It says below, the jaw-dropping image is the most graphic black shadow image captured to date, taken in broad daylight with a Canon 5D on a tripod, fired remotely. It appears to show something with a human form stood assuredly at the top of the stairs looking up towards the camera. Is this the Black Monk himself? Is it an entity that has been known to shove people down the stairs? Question mark?
I also found it on this. https://ghostwatch.com/paranormal-report/England/the-black-monk-of-Pontefract/.
Well, lots of dashes and slashes in there. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. That just feels like really Photoshopped to me. Am I the only one in assuming that? Because that's just... I am not
Ghost
a...
Watch was amazing.
It was. Am I the only one that feels like they could recreate this image in Photoshop in like 10 minutes?
Yeah, it looks utterly fake.
Yeah, that's why
EHH, yeah.
and I'm not a Photoshop guy. It's like, this is a good photo. Look at that. Like, that makes more sense. Look at that photo. Look at that. Okay, so one frame, next frame. That looks better. The artifacting is wrong though in the dark. Yeah, this photo's been altered. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That photo's been altered. Yeah, like, come on. Anybody with a shader tool could do these. I'm not convinced. Okay, so this one's kind of interesting. This is a sequence of images appear to show orbs with glowing eyes, shot on full spectrum stills camera. The orbs are described as entering the front room, observing inquisitively for a couple of minutes before leaving the room again. What is also interesting is that the softer the orb seems to stick very closely to the brighter one, suggesting perhaps that they were a couple of some kind. One thing's for sure, we are not looking at insects or dust here. But they're so low to the ground. Why are they so low to the ground? So there's an interesting thing here, see? Look here. This is a lens flare. Let me go over here. This is a lens flare. Specifically on a mirrored camera, which is what a Canon 5D would be. This is physical light interacting with the mirror. It's interesting that they chose black and white. Anybody else feel like these could be lasers? Right? Am I grasping at straws? Those look like lasers to anybody else? Only shows them on flat surfaces? Look, flat surface, kind of flat surface. This one's not on a flat surface. Off at a distance, that would be angled. Look, the freaking points of light are stretched out. Those are lasers. Those are freaking lasers. Come on. Absolutely, those are lasers. All right, so it's the professionalism of the photographer in the field, the paranormal, that firmly reports his claim. He took a picture of the Bible on the left, and when he entered 30 East Drive, thinking it was strange to see the Bible in a haunted house, the second picture he came downstairs later and noticed the Bible had moved. The Bible moved, but not the photo album. So this figure was taken from inside Philip's bedroom of the landing. A random photograph not noticed until the photographer checked his camera later, validated as being genuine by Father Gary Thomas. A priest portrayed in the film The Rite, and a top American demonologist. I like this one. Jeez, just shit in the cameras. I'm not, like, convinced. Okay, what's the deal with the cup? Oh my god, they're saying a shadow in the cup? Ah, come on. This is obviously a shadow of somebody standing in the room holding a piece of equipment. Come on. Come on, people. Alright, so that's interesting. That's a different type of light anomaly you don't usually see. I like that one. I like that one. I don't like the other ones. I like this one. That man's got a very strange expression on his face. My question is, what's going on with this right here? This man's head is a square. Yeah, I'm not like super convinced with those photos. They definitely didn't blow me away or anything. I mean, like, this one looks cool. I want to know more about this one. What did they say about this? The image of a young girl reported to be at the residence of 30 East Drive, shot in the darkness of a small bedroom toward the upstairs bedroom. Definite outline of a dress. See, I like this. This seems good. Hold on. I'm sorry. This looks good. This looks like something. And like somebody took the time to superimpose a drawing over it. That looks good. I like that.
Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, Emma. Kudos on whoever drew the superimposed image. That really makes things a lot easier. It does. More investigators should do that. So, like, this feels genuine. This one does. Interesting. Food for thought. Go on and think about that for a little bit. Let's move forward. I'm going to close all these 9,000 tabs that I got open now of images I'm not so convinced about. All right, well, let's dive off into Act 4. The theories that make it worse. Act 4, everybody, Act 4. So by the time the case of 30 East Drive reached its way widely across the city, the question was no longer whether something was happening in the house. Too many people had witnessed too many events for that debate to go anywhere. Instead, the argument shifted to something far more uncomfortable. What explanation, if any, actually fit the behavior being reported? Every theory offered came with consequences. And the more closely each was examined, the worse it seemed. The most common explanation was that one of the investigators reached for first: poltergeist activity. And more specifically, driven by psychological stress. In this model, the disturbances weren't caused by an external entity, but by unconscious psychokinetic energy, often centered around children or adolescents, where objects move, doors slam, physical interactions occur without a visible source. On paper, it fits parts of the case. But at 30 East Drive, it never fit cleanly. The poltergeist theory struggles with intent. The activity here didn't just occur, it reacted. It targeted specific individuals. It intensified in response to attention. It appeared to observe before acting. Witnesses described a figure that was seen independently by multiple people, including adults, in full daylight. A psychological explanation can stretch to cover movement and noise, but it has difficulty explaining consistent visual apparitions across witnesses. And then there's the figure itself. The Black Monk label wasn't assigned lightly. Witness descriptions didn't vary widely. They converged, actually. A tall, hooded, dark, solid figure. And the image on the staircase mirrored those accounts closely enough to raise an unsettling possibility that whatever was responsible for the activity had chosen a recognizable form. If that was the case, then the phenomena wasn't accidental. It wasn't leakage from stress or emotion. It was presentation. Historical explanations tried to anchor the figure in the past, but stories circulated about a Benedictine monk associated with the Pontefract castle, possibly punished or killed for his crimes long forgotten. These stories provided context, but no documentation ever firmly connected a monk to the specific site of 30 East Drive. The house simply wasn't old enough. The timeline didn't align, and the legend filled the gaps, but it didn't solve the problem. Environmental explanations were proposed next. Faulty wiring, electromagnetic fields, like we talked about, structural issues, vibrations from nearby roads. These factors can create sensations of unease and even hallucinations under the right conditions, but none of them explain doors being torn from hinges, objects being thrown with force, or children being lifted off the ground. More importantly, none of them explained why activity followed them through the house, shifting locations as observers moved. Some skeptics suggested deliberate fabrication, a hoax perpetrated by the family or investigators seeking attention. But this theory collapses under its own weight. The family gained nothing from the ordeal. They endured public scrutiny, fear, and eventual displacement. Police witnessed activity. Independent visitors reported the same events. Sustaining a hoax of this scale, violent, unpredictable, and witnessed by professionals, would require coordination and motive that no one has ever demonstrated. And that left a final, deeply unsettling possibility that the phenomena at 30 East Drive was neither residual nor accidental, but responsive. Something capable of observing its environment, choosing moments to act, and escalating behavior when challenged. In other words, not a replay of the past, but an active presence. This interpretation troubled even seasoned investigators. If the activity was intelligent, then attempts to provoke it were not neutral experiments. They were confrontations. And at 30 East Drive, confrontations were met with aggression. The house didn't perform on command. It resisted. It pushed back. It behaved less like a haunted location and more like a hostile territory. The photograph fed this interpretation rather than calming it. If the figure was a manifestation, why present itself so clearly? Why allow documentation at all? One theory suggested the image was not evidence of weakness, but of dominance. A reminder that the phenomena controlled the space, not the observers. And as discussions dragged on, investigators began to notice something else. The activity was changing, not fading, but shifting. Incidents became less frequent but more intense. Long periods of calm were punctuated by sudden, violent outbreaks. The unpredictability wore people down. Families can endure constant fear, but what breaks them is uncertainty. And eventually, the question stopped being academic. The family no longer cared what the explanation was. They wanted out. Because if even one of these theories was correct, if the activity was intelligent, responsive, and capable of physical harm, then staying in the house wasn't bravery. It was reckless. And when the family finally left 30 East Drive, many assumed the case had ended. And they were wrong. Because the house didn't stop being what it was. It simply went quiet. All right, so Act 4 was a little blah, not gonna lie. I'm trying to speed it up a little bit. We're getting close for time here. Act 4 is about what you'd expect. The investigations continued. And eventually the family moved out. They said some stuff, but you know what? We're gonna touch on that at the end when I get to my conclusion. I'm starting to form an opinion on this, and some people are not gonna like this one tonight. Just saying that. I'm just saying that. So in Act 5, we're going to talk about the aftermath and the silence. What happened after the family moved away? And then we're going to get a conclusion. We're going to wrap this thing up in a nice, neat little bow. You ready for Act 5? Act 5, Aftermath and Silence. Act 5. So when the family finally left 30 East Drive, there was no dramatic ending, no final confrontation, no cleansing ritual that restored order. They packed what they could, closed the door behind them, and walked away from a house that made itself impossible to live in. For them, survival mattered more than answers. The activity stopped. Or at least it appeared to. For skeptics, this was the moment that confirmed their suspicions. Remove the witnesses, remove the stress, remove the attention, and the phenomena disappears. Case closed. But that explanation only works if you ignore what happened next. The house did not return to normal. 30 East Drive did not become just another empty property waiting for the next new tenant. Word had spread too far. Stories circulated quietly but persistently. Prospective occupants declined viewings. Neighbors spoke in lowered voices about the address. The house developed a reputation that required retelling the details. That didn't require retelling the details, excuse me. People simply said, "You don't want that one." And eventually, new families did move in. And in nearly every instance, the same pattern emerged. Not immediately, not dramatically, but gradually. Small disturbances, sounds, movements, a sense of being watched, particularly near the staircase. Reports were fewer and more guarded, but they echoed what had come before. The house did not behave like a location that had been cleared. Investigators who revisited the property found little activity during brief visits, but that too became part of the mystery. Whatever had been present seemed disinterested in short-term observation. It did not perform on schedule. It did not respond to provocation the way it once had. It simply existed, dormant until circumstances aligned. And the photograph remained. As years passed, debates around the staircase image grew louder, not quieter. It became a fixture in books, documentaries, late-night discussions, podcasts. Believers continued to point out the consistency of witness accounts. No consensus was reached, and perhaps more importantly, no definitive debunking ever stuck. Time did not erode the case, it preserved it. What made 30 East Drive unsettling wasn't just the violence or the image. It was the absence of closure. The family left. Investigations ended, attention moved on, but nothing ever explained why the activity happened the way it did. Why it targeted who it targeted, and why it chose to stop when it did. If the phenomenon was psychological, it should not have followed the house. If it was environmental, it should have behaved with intent. It should not have behaved with intent. If it was a hoax, it should not have survived scrutiny for decades. And if it was something else, something aware, then the silence itself becomes the most disturbing part of the story. Because silence implies choice. 30 East Drive still stands in Pontefract. People walk past it every day. Children play nearby. Life continues. From the outside, it looks exactly like it always had. An ordinary house in an ordinary neighborhood. But that ordinariness is deceptive. because the history of that house suggests something important. The activity didn't end because it was solved. It ended because it finished with the people who lived there. And the question that lingers isn't whether the black monk was real. It's whether it's still there, waiting for the next family to give it a reason to wake up. So, we've come to the end of Act 5. Now, I have a few problems with this. And after going through a lot of the evidence, I think a lot of us are feeling the same way, right? I feel that this is more of a psychological haunting with a touch of residual. It would take a really very, very unique set of circumstances for there to be a residual haunting exactly on a set of stairs, exactly in a place where a new set of stairs would be built many years later. If we're saying that a monk is haunting this location because the castle that was there, I feel like it's going to be a residual haunting. We've done a number of investigations that had to do with hauntings, poltergeist activity, specifically in Britain, and we agreed that a lot of those were residual hauntings, because the majority of Britain sets on a bed of limestone, massive piece of limestone, and limestone holds a lot of residual energy. So there's a piece of me that feels like this is a residual haunting. However, there are things that I can't quite explain. And the believer in me wants to say that these people are really telling the stories the right way, that a little kid was lifted up, like gravity didn't exist, like he was pulled up by his shirt. I want to believe that furniture was moved. I want to believe that police saw these things. But the problem I run into is there's no police records. I've tried to find police reports. There's no police reports for this address. There's no photographs of any of the aftermath. There's no photographs of... So we know that the kid in the family that got lifted up, we know that he got hurt, and medical examiners checked out the kid. Why on earth did nobody decide to take photos? I mean, cameras have been around forever. Come on. Why didn't anybody take pictures of the kid? Why didn't anybody take pictures of, let's look at the Enfield poltergeist, for example. The Enfield poltergeist, they were at least trying to hoax a little bit, right? We've got pictures of little girls jumping on beds, and people are saying that they're being thrown around by ghosts. They at least tried. And this was in the 70s. So I have a hard time believing that a lot of these things happened and there's no photo evidence or no paper trail. And if I remember correctly, this is our third or fourth haunting investigation that has to deal with this type of housing in this type of a neighborhood. So these neighborhoods were built to be cheap, affordable housing for people. And a lot of times, like, there would be rows and rows of connected buildings, one long building cut up individual houses, but they're all connected. They're cheap, they're affordable, they're meant to be for people that need housing. These are, I feel like originally these were designed for that. But this kind of fits in that same category of like the Enfield poltergeist. Like, you've got a family stuck in like a shitty house and they want out. Or, who's to say that maybe they just don't like their neighbors and they want a reason to move without breaking the lease. I don't know how it works over in Britain, but if there could be a bunch of different reasons. But I want to say in my heart of hearts that this is really a paranormal case. But I don't think I can. I don't think that there's enough evidence on the important things, like the physical damage caused. Like they said that a door was ripped off the hinges. Why didn't anybody take a picture of that? Show me the picture. Show me the picture of the door being ripped off the hinges. I'm not so crazy to be asking for something like that. It's not far-fetched. It's not asking a lot. If somebody were to come to my house and doing a paranormal investigation, in the middle of the investigation, they said, "Oh, a ghost ripped off the door," I'm going to take some damn pictures. Right? There's just not enough photo evidence here in the parts that matter. And what photos we do have, out of the like 10 or 12, only 2 of them made me stop and go, maybe this is paranormal. So, my professional opinion on this matter, as a professional paranormal investigator, that's right, I'm professional, and we've talked about this before, I think at one time there was something legitimately haunting this location. And there were, it could have been a residual, it could have been anything. It's hard to say. And, word got around, the neighborhood heard about the haunting, and people were, talking to one another about the location. So as people talk, you begin to prime people to want to see things. You see what I'm saying? You're preparing the psyche for something to happen. And when you expect it, it does happen. It's like pareidolia. I'm going to send you into a room with no lights, and I'm going to say, you know what, but be careful in there because it's haunted. And 5 minutes in, you're going to swear you saw somebody walking around in that room, but you were alone. Pareidolia made sense of the darkness, and it took the darkness and formed it into a human because I primed you to want to see that. And I feel like that's what we're dealing with here. There may have been some type of unexplained circumstances in the past. And word gets around, and eventually it primed the next inhabitants of that location. And we do like to ask who's making money off of this, right? And the script tells us that the original family that had all this happening to them didn't want to make any money off of it. But you know what? They made a couple movies about it. There is, I found the Netflix documentary about it. There's a whole website. We looked at it. I mean, you're not going to host a website for nothing, right? Somebody's making money off of this. And it just doesn't make me feel good. I don't know. There's more evidence to tell me that this is manufactured haunting than there is to tell me that this is a legitimate haunting. And regretfully, I'm going to say that the Black Monk of Pontefract is not really paranormal. Sorry. I know, I'm going to ruffle some feathers with that one, but I just don't think it's legitimate. Why would nobody take a picture of the damn door? Show me a picture of the door. Show me a picture of the damage, right? I could say somebody broke into my house.
Hello.
Money, how you doing?
Could we also be manifesting it? Hi, Moni.
Okay, sure. Manifesting is a thing. Yeah, we did talk about it a little bit in Act 3. So there is a thing where, especially with like teenagers, and this is what we dealt with the Enfield poltergeist, was we had 2 like preteen girls in the house, and the hauntings seem to revolve around them. And there is, I can't think of exactly what it is. I've had a number of beverages here. I can't tell you exactly what the name for this is, but there is a psychological effect where if you have a young teenager, they could have some type of unknown parapsychological thing going on that does represent itself as like psychokinesis in a way. And you will see, if you look at a lot of these paranormal cases, especially like
Moni.
poltergeist hauntings from like the 60s and 70s, it seems like a lot of these cases revolved around teenagers.
Cleveriston.
So I feel like a lot of these hauntings, especially like Enfield poltergeist, we said that that was not a legitimate case of paranormal activity. We were dealing, there's a term for it. I'm slapping myself for not remember what the hell it was called, but there's a term for it where teenagers going through puberty, they give off copious amounts of psychokinetic energy, and they unintentionally manifest these happenings. This happens. That's why as a teenager, it always seemed like weird things happened to you, right? Am I crazy? Because it happened to me. And then once I got older, I realized,
The minute you said owing, the stream dropped out for 2 secs for me, haha.
Monty, how you doing? I'm glad you're here tonight. You get it real late, but I'm glad you're here. But yeah, there is a legitimate thing where now I need to know what it's called. Jeez. Yeah, I'm not seeing the word I'm looking for here, but you could legitimately look this up, and this is a thing. Because as teenagers, especially like preteens, we're confused. We're going through a confused part of our life. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of confusion going on. And especially in the 60s and 70s, you didn't really talk about a lot of that stuff. So it's pent up. And it's, geez, it's like on the tip of my tongue. I can't remember what the hell it's called. But essentially, in a nutshell, hormonal teenagers are unwittingly causing paranormal activity. And this is what we were dealing with.
Unexplained manifestations in the sheets.
Something like that, yeah. There is a legitimate, like, paranormal investigators term for it. I can't think of what it is. But I think it's more what we're dealing with. Like, initially, there was some type of unexplained manifestation in the sheets, and it made some, like, questionable things happen. And people believed that that property was really haunted. And then word got around again and again and again and again. And I don't think we're dealing with manifestation in a traditional sense. Not like the... what was the... Geez. Yeah. Maybe I need to start making a list of terms. What's the paranormal manifestation thing? There's a word. There's a...
Ectoplasm.
No, not ectoplasm. Like, we talked about it. Word for... Tulpa. That's the word I'm looking for. Tulpa. So a tulpa is a thing where people believe that there's going to be a UFO sighting, and they believe it's going to be a UFO sighting over and over again for many years, and eventually that collective psychic energy comes together. And what do you know? A UFO shows up. That is a tulpa. That is what we're dealing. That's what I think that you're getting at, Shark. Sure, this could be tulpa related, but generally we don't see physical.
Tulpa.
Yeah, there you go. See, Monty, you're like, yeah, you're a little bit behind, but that's okay. You're on it. Monty knows what's going on. Generally with tulpas, you don't see like a physical interaction. You're not getting things thrown across the room. You're not getting children lifted up by the scruff of their collar. You're not
Is
getting.
that how to spell it?
Yeah, that's it. You're right. You're not going to get doors ripped off your hinges from a tulpa. Generally, a tulpa is a visual manifestation of like a group of people believing that something is going to happen. We dealt with this with the Loveland Frogman. I think our consensus was that we believed that the Loveland Frogman was a tulpa. That they wanted so bad to see this local cryptid that every 10 or 12 years it showed up. But only fleetingly and then disappeared randomly. That's a tulpa. That's what we were dealing with there. We talked about that in season 2. Go back and check it out, everybody. Season 2 was a great episode. Yay! But yeah, tulpas
So
are
like
a thing.
God.
Yeah. I'm going to avoid that subject. I don't want to get too much into religion. Me and God haven't seen eye to eye in a very long time, so I'm going to avoid that one. But sure, similar. But oh jeez, I'm biting my tongue right now. Damn it.
Understandable, but I feel like that it isn't impossible. While I do find it quite well, it does feel partially like a hoax, but I dunno, seeing that house, even as unseeming as it looked like, I didn't like that house. I could be wrong, though.
No, you see, that's a thing. Is you're feeding off of the vibe, and I get that. I get the same thing. People feed off of vibes. We say vibes today, but canonically speaking, you could be feeding off of an energy that's persistent around this location. It could be a bunch of different things playing a factor into that. In the 1920s, we wouldn't have called it a vibe. We would have called it, feeling the spiritual energy. Just looking at the house, I felt it too. Something doesn't feel quite right about it.
I was hit ad mid-speaking.
Ads, jeez. I need a womp womp womp.
Doesn't anyone notice this? I feel like I'm taking crazy pills!
But no, Shark, you're not 100% wrong. I don't think that we're dealing with the tulpa. Maybe. I mean, at this point, we've been talking about it since the 70s, but it does feel hoaxy. Or like it feels like they wanted it so bad, but nothing was happening. So you know what? Let's just make up a couple little things. Nudge, nudge. I'll Photoshop something in there. We'll get it looking good. I'm not convinced. They yucked up this damn photo of this quote monk standing on a staircase. And I don't like the photo. It just doesn't look great. I could almost make it in paint. That's how bad the photo was. I mean, hell, I think even Shark said that they could easily make it in Photoshop, and I'm not
I will say that the vibe you and I definitely share instinct of is partially trauma-related. Not solely, but we learn to recognize danger locked faster than others, unfortunately. So, intuition, yes, as vibes, but that instinct, does it really lie for you and I?
No. So, you bring up a good point. as intuition speaks, you and I will see, because what we've been through, that when we look at a place, it's part of the natural part of the human brain. So you have the reptilian, that's what I'm looking for. The reptilian part of the brain, the part of the brain that relies on things that it doesn't see. It feeds off of energies. It can look at a cave and say, "Oh, well, that's dark in there. That doesn't seem safe. I shouldn't go in there." Whereas some people don't have that. And I feel like that part of the reptilian part of the brain triggered for us, me and you, Shark, where we saw the place. Something didn't quite feel right. Like if me and you were standing in front of that house, probably wouldn't have walked in. Probably wouldn't have approached it. I would have looked at it from the street, and that's as far as I would have been like, cool, that's the place. Yep. Let's go get some tacos. Because my self-preservation is much higher than most people because of the things that I've been through. And Shark, I'm sure you can agree with me on that. When you go through a lot of things, you do have, your self-preservation is a lot higher, and your quote-unquote intuition is a little stronger than most.
I have so many YT friends who would be LFFGGGGGG.
Yeah, we've got so many people that in our lives that would just, fuck, let's go knock on the door. And they'll be up there looking in the windows. And I'd be like, no, come on, that's private property. Back up a little bit. So yeah, the self-preservation isn't there for everybody. Those are this, I'm the inverse of the person that likes to jump out of planes. I would love to do it, but as soon as I got up there, I would be like, you know what? This is dangerous. I'm just going to land with the plane. So it's like a reptilian part of the brain that has to do with self-preservation. We're not wrong, Shark. This is how, as I subscribe to the concept that we, evolved from lesser than we are today, and this is the part of our brain that kept us alive. Well, that intuitive part of our brain is not strong in some people.
I try it. I do it, so long as I know that I have a high chance of survival. LMAO.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. I'm the guy that thinks 6 weeks before buying one shelf from IKEA. Generally. Occasionally you'll get a wild hair from me and I'll be like, yeah, let's spend $1,000 and refurnish this entire room. But other than that, I'm outside that wild hair. I'm the guy that plans meticulously. I may or may not have full-blown conversations in my head before even talking to people. I'm very self-preservation savvy. Yeah, I'm the guy to come to when the zombie apocalypse happens, because I will be the guy that thought of everything and prepared for everything. That's just me. Anywho, I'm going to say that this is not a paranormal case, unfortunately, as much as I'm sure some of these people are going to say, poo-poo on that. But I don't know. I'm just not seeing enough evidence. There could be something there, and maybe we're grasping at straws, trying to pull the paranormal out of the area, just like the Amityville Horror House. There was some weird stuff going on, but it has a reputation, and over time, people want to have that experience, so we consistently look for it. And I feel like, judging on these photographs, we hit that threshold where people are tired of waiting for something to happen, and now we're dealing with people that are fabricating, legitimate experiences. So I don't think this is really paranormal. I'm sorry. Not paranormal. I'll give it to you again. I'll give you a little swirl. Not paranormal. I'm sorry. I don't think it is. But kudos. I'm glad everybody came here tonight. It was a good episode. It was a great show. I'm hoping that everybody was able to get away from
What
this.
hauntings did you cover beforehand?
Oh, geez. We've done so many. Let me just pull up the YouTube channel. I'll tell you right now. If you go to the YouTube channel, I actually have a playlist labeled Ghosties. We've done 18 cases so far. Let's see. Oh, Jesus, it's not showing me the videos in the list. This one. So we did Celebrity Ghosts a couple episodes ago. We did the Sleep Paralysis Demon, the Waverly Hills Sanatorium, Bridgewater Triangle, Kuretsukiona, the Slit Mouth Woman from Japan, the Dawdleson Messages, the Borley Rectory, the Skull Experiments, the Bell Witch, the Queen Mary, the Hat Man, the Thornton Heath Poltergeist, the Amityville Horror House, La Llorona, Dear David, which was a favorite of mine, the Stanley Hotel, the Enfield Poltergeist. Yeah. Kuretsukiona. I still say that because I spent so much time training myself to pronounce that correctly. Kuretsukiona. I vocally correct podcasters that reference it all the time. And I am unabashedly aware that I say it all the time. But yeah, we've done, this is number 18 in the playlist of Ghosties. We've covered 18 stories that have to do with ghosts and hauntings. Yeah, we've done, if you look at the YouTube channel, I try my best to break down every episode into a category. So if somebody just wants UFOs or just wants cryptids or just wants hauntings or just wants high strangeness, they're all broke down in the YouTube channel pretty easily. We've done a lot. We have done a lot. But thank you everybody for being here tonight. What a wonderful episode tonight. I'm glad one of you came in, Shark. Worlds of Confusion. Thank you for your snarky comments. You're the best. Who else popped in? Hef was here for a little bit. Blip was here for a bit. We had ourselves a wonderful bot try to spam us with cheap viewers. That's not going to happen. I'm not paying for that shit. I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. If nobody comes and watches, it's fine by me. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing.
You are
anyway.
most welcome.
I'm glad each and every one of you are here. I really am. Again, maybe
Still here, just lurking.
Oh, Blip, thanks. Yeah, sweet, man. I'm glad you're here.
Glad to be here.
I'm glad all of you are here. Y'all make my this is a passion project of mine, and I get
I'll check the list and then throw you some more suggies.
Yeah, appreciate it. Faux show.
Thank you kindly for the stream.
I take great joy and pride in doing this podcast every week, and I do it because I purely love doing it. I get like a tiny amount of ad revenue from Twitch. I get $48 a year. That's how much money I'm making off of this podcast. I do this because I love it. I've upgraded my setup a dozen times between season 1, episode 1, and now. And it's probably about to happen again because...
Do you write the scripts?
I do write the scripts. I put so much work into this. I do the scripts. Sometimes I get my wife to do some of the scripting because she is a writer.
Nice.
I try to keep, like, the cases that I find really interesting, I don't do the scripts on because I want to take that journey with everybody. I want to make the investigation as full and thorough as possible. But, you know, I do this because I love it. And I'm glad that y'all are here with me to share in this investigation with me. Yeah, I'm glad every single one of you are here. I really am. And I appreciate every single one of you. No matter how many beers I drink, I'm sure if you compared my vocal patterns from the beginning of the episode to now, I might be slurring a little bit. I'm not sure. But I try to have fun. That's the whole point, is to try to have fun. So look forward.
It's always a pleasure.
I'm glad you're here, Blip. Man, you've been here since practically day one. And, you know, now that we've got YouTube family, I don't know who the guy is on YouTube it's watching every week, but I'm glad you're here. We've always got at least one viewer on YouTube every week. Thanks, YouTube viewer. It could be James. I'm not sure. And nobody watches on Facebook, but y'all are my fam. I appreciate it. So look forward to maybe next week or the week after. Very possibly going to be bringing my wife in as a co-host, and we're going to see how that works out. I'm looking forward to it, honestly. I'm really looking forward to like organic conversations happening and actual banter, reaction to script writing, and reaction to the investigations and seeing how things are panning out in real time. That's the whole point, is real-time reactions. That's why we don't edit this podcast. As soon as we're done, I go to Twitch, I click download, and I upload that to Spotify. I don't edit anything. Yeah, even the bot coming in, it stays in the episode. Well, all right, jerks. If y'all have a personal story or a suggestion for a future episode, you can reach out to me at beyondtheshadowspodcast@gmail.com. You can scan this QR code up here in the corner. It takes you to all the socials. I post shit all over the place. Lots of shorts, lots of reels. Trying to get more traction on Facebook. So if you're on Facebook, hit that like and follow button. I appreciate it. Shout out to whoever you were that gave me a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts this week. You freaking rock. My first 5-star review. I'm very pleased. Didn't ask for it, but I got it. There are a couple 1-star reviews. I did not read those because I'm not going to let that bring me down. But anyway, we'll see what's coming up next week. I do have a list of pending episodes. So if anybody has a personal story, I say it again. If anybody has a personal story or a suggestion for your future episode, you can feel free to email me at beyondtheshadowspodcast@gmail.com or scan this QR code. It's been up here in the corner the whole time. Let me know if that's working on anybody's phones. I know on a desktop it's great and you can see it and scan it with your phone, but not sure how it works with a phone if you're watching on a phone. Any hoots and hollers. Thanks, World of Confusion. Thanks, Gummy. Thanks, Blip. Thanks, Monty, for being here. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, random bot trying to sell me cheap viewers on Twitch. Y'all are the best. Not sure what we're going to do next week, but we'll figure something out. I'm sure it's going to be something amazing. But before we go, I do have one little tiny paragraph left to read. And then we're going to wrap this thing up. You all ready? So cases like 30 East Drive don't end with answers. They end with absence. No explanation ever fully accounted for the violence, the consistency of witnesses, or the image captured on that staircase, no matter how fake it is. The family left, the house went quiet, and the story slipped into history without resolution. And maybe that's the most unsettling part, because when something stops without explanation, it doesn't feel solved. It feels patient. Whether the Black Monk was an entity, a manifestation, or something we still don't have language for, one thing remains clear. The house didn't just react. It fought back. So if you find yourself at the bottom of a staircase, scared, looking at the reflection in a mirror, and seeing an obviously photoshopped dark cloud standing at the top of the stairs, don't run. Take pictures. If your doors get ripped off the hinges in your house and you're being haunted, take pictures. If your child is being lifted off the ground by unseen hands and taken to a medical facility for medical attention, even though you have no documentation, take pictures. Because pictures matter. But if you legitimately find yourself at the bottom of a staircase and see a dark, shadowy figure at the top of the stairs, don't scream. Take a picture. Don't run away. But whatever you do, make sure you follow us beyond the shadows. Good night, everybody. I'll see y'all next week. Have a good one. Bye.
A creature like that. How would it ever die?
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead.
I put 4 bullets into him. Why, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Oh, hold up. We can raid half. Hold on. It'll take me a second. Just 1 second. I didn't know he was streaming. Usually nobody's streaming. Sorry, that's my fault. This one. I've got like 6 tabs open right now. Let me kill the heartbeat. Yeah, we're gonna raid half. Let's raid half. We're gonna raid half. I didn't know he's streaming. That's my bad, y'all. Let's go raid half. Let's go. Let's go, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you guys. Let's go. Let's freaking go. That's right. That's right.
A creature like that. How would it ever die?
And this monster starts running right at me.
Annihilated by nuclear bombs.
Beast is not dead.
I put 4 bullets into him. Why, you're crazy.
But I saw that monster too. All I want is for someone to believe me.
Contaminated.
Face. Horrible. Look like it would scare you to death.
All right, let's get to work.
Beyond the shadows.